Okay, the next lesson is lesson 4 in algebra concepts. In this lesson, we are going to be completing patterns. The objective is, given a sequence of numbers, the student will be able to continue the pattern to 100% accuracy. Okay, so if we look at the first example, it says a pattern of numbers is shown below. Those numbers are 1, 5, 13, and 29. You have to give me the next one number that comes in the sequence of numbers. All of these patterns that you're going to see here involve two operations, meaning there's going to be two things that you have to do to get the next number. Okay, and all of them, the very first thing that you want to do is find the difference between each of the numbers that's there. Okay, so what I mean by that is, how do you get from 1 to 5? Okay, that has a difference of 4. Okay, so I'm going to put plus 4. Okay, the next numbers are 5 and 13. The difference between those numbers, 13 minus 5, is 8. Okay, so you have to add 8 to get to 13. The next two pairs of numbers is 13 and 29. To get from 13 to 29, you have to add 16, and that can be found just by doing 29 minus 13. Okay, so we are going to have to be adding some number to get the next missing number in the sequence. Okay, now if you look, you have plus 4, plus 8, plus 16. You are not adding the same number every time. There is something else that's going on. There's a second operation. So the second step that you're going to do is you're going to be looking at those red numbers and figuring, what did you multiply to get each of them? Okay, so using multiplication, how do you get from 4 to 8? Well, really what you're doing is you're just doubling the number. Doubling means that you are multiplying by 2. So to get from 4 to 8, you multiply by 2. Same with the next ones. 8 to 16, that same pattern still works. You are doubling that number. You are multiplying by 2. It has to be the same multiplication, or that's not the pattern. Okay? So now to get what I add again, I'm going to multiply the 16 by 2. Okay? And if you have a calculator there, you can do 16 times 2, or you just know that in your head, and that's 32. So I'm going to be adding 32 onto the 29. Okay? So do not say that 32 is the next number in the sequence. You have to add together the 29 and the 32. So 29 plus 32 is 61. Okay? So 61 is the next number in the sequence. So there's always going to be two steps you have to do. What do I add, or what's the difference? And also, what do I multiply by? Okay, next example. Okay, first I want to look at the differences between each of the numbers. Okay, the difference between 1 and 6 is 5. So I add 5 each time. 6 plus what gives me 21? It's plus 15. Next pair of numbers, between the 21 and the 66, you add 45. Okay, now these are all different numbers that you're adding, 5, 15, 45. So that's not the final pattern. There's still another step you have to do. You want to look at the numbers 5, 15, and 45, and you want to figure out, what do you multiply by to get from one to the next one? Okay, what do you have to multiply 5 by to get 15? Well, that's 3. Okay, so I multiply by 3. Let's see if that works for the next pair. 15 times 3 is 45. Yes, it is. So that is my pattern. Okay, so to figure out the next number that I add, I have to multiply it by 3. So I am taking the 45 and multiplying it by 3. If you get your calculator, 45 times 3 is 135. Okay, so I'm going to be adding 135 onto this 66. 135 plus 66 equals 201. Okay, so the next number in our sequence is 201. Okay, you could continue the pattern after that, but I'm only asking you for one of those numbers. Okay, let's move on to example 3. Okay, from 1 to 7, the difference between those is 6, so you're adding 6. Next pair of numbers is 7 and 25. That is a difference of 18, so you are adding 18. Okay, 25 to 79, the numbers jump there a little bit. You are adding 54 to get to the 79. Okay, if you look, you are adding 6, 18, and 54. They are not all the same number, so that means there has to be a second step to it because the numbers all have to be the same. Okay, so if you're looking at the 6, 18, and 54, you're thinking, what do I have to multiply 6 by to get to the 18? Well, I know 6 times 3 is 18, so I'm going to try multiply by 3. Okay, does that work for the next pair of numbers? Is 18 times 3 54? Yes, it is. Okay, so that is my pattern right there. Okay, so now I work backwards. I start with the 54, and I know I have to multiply it by 3. So type in 54 times 3, and you get that that's 162. Okay, so my answer is not 162. That is not my next number in the pattern. That means I have to add 162 to the 79 that's there. Remember, there's always 2 steps you have to do to get to that next number. Okay, so you add 79 plus 162, okay, and that gives you 241. Okay, so your sequence of numbers in this pattern is 1, 7, 25, 79, and then 241. Always 2 steps to solve the pattern. Okay, at this point, pause the video, try example 4 yourself, and then come back and check. Okay, example 4, the numbers were 1, 3, 7, and 15. Well, first I look and I find that from 1 to 3, I have to add 2 to get to that number. 1 plus 2 is 3. Okay, 3 plus what is 7? 3 plus 4 is 7. Okay, 7 plus what gives me 15? 7 plus 8 is 15. Okay, so my numbers are 2, 4, and 8. Okay, so I have to figure out the pattern now between 2, 4, and 8 using multiplication. Okay, to get from 2 to 4, I multiply those numbers by 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, let's see if that pattern works for the next set. Is 4 times 2 8? Yes, it is. Okay, so now I want to multiply this 8 right here also by 2. Okay, 8 times 2 is 16. Okay, so 16 is what's being added on to the 15 that's right there. So you add 15 plus 16 and you get 31. Okay, so the next number in the sequence is 31. 1, 3, 7, 15, and 31. Okay, if you have any problems with this lesson, rewatch it. If not, you can move on to the next video. You should now be able to finish a pattern using 2 operations.